it's one of my biggest regrets because I went to see him at the Albert Hall and I was a massive fan. You know, we grew up with Sinatra, so I was like a big fan. But for some reason at that point, I think I was so full of my own self-importance. Frank Sinatra, you know, and I just forgot to be present.
Mr. Boy George is here.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
It's getting harder and harder to interview Boy George because as the years go by, Boy George and I are in each other's lives now so much.
Yeah.
What a treat for you, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, she told me, we've said this before, but she told me like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That this man would end up in my life in the way he has. I'd be like, no.
No way.
Yeah,
Not him. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. I get to share so much of George's life, which, by the way, is never dull. It is. I was saying this morning, we were talking about you this morning, and I was saying your work ethic is remarkable. So this year, I think you had a couple of shows at the start of the year. I think.
Yeah.
Then you were off to New York because you were doing Moulin Rouge on Broadway every day. That was for a few months.
Yep.
Then you got back, and within a few days, you were then off to Ibiza to DJ at Pasha. You got back from Ibiza Sunday night. It's now Tuesday morning. You're in with us. And it doesn't stop. And in between all of that, you will be in the studio because you love being in the studio. You love creating all the time. Or you're at home doing your art where you will be beading or stitching. It's ludicrous.
But then if you enjoy something, it's not work.
Yeah.
You know, and even if you're kind of not looking forward to something, you can kind of just tell yourself to enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, I kind of just like, with the art stuff, that's like fun.
Yeah.
So that's not work. That's something I get pleasure out with. Music, I get pleasure out of. Actually, I try to enjoy everything I do, whatever it is.
What elements to what are the elements that make it a bit of a job? Are you like, like music videos or?
No, I try not to kind of moan because, you know, if you're making a music video, it's for you.
Yeah.
If you remember that it's all for you and you're doing it to promote yourself, then there's no real reason to be miserable. Plus, you know, I feel like I'm happier generally now. And so I notice that people are really grumpy in the world. When I'm out and about, I just think, God, people are so negative. You know what I mean? Like, going to a shop and people look like so miserable and they're not friendly. And I'm like, I try to not be like that.
Yeah.
I try to, you know, just be nice to people because actually I've discovered, you know, that people don't really care what you look like. They're not really bothered. They just want a photo. They're not bothered whether you're dressed up or, you know, they don't care.
No.
They don't want to hear your life story. They just want a bloody selfie.
That's
Do it.
right.
And it's just a lot quicker to be nice.
Yeah.
The minute you start saying no, you just create this energy. And I only ever said no in the past because I wasn't dressed or, you know, didn't think I looked good. But people don't care.
No.
They don't care.
I do, though. I'll say no. Unless I'm in full makeup, I'm saying no to selfies.
Well, you know, it's different because you've got such an extreme look, Chris.
I remember
That's hours in the chair, isn't it?
we were on tour. We were in Belfast and we were doing Jesus Christ Superstar. And Tim Minchin and I, both separately, were in the same hotel. He got up and went for a run. And then I didn't know. And then I got up and went for a run. So we're both running around Belfast. And we both got back to the hotel within about 2 minutes of each other. But we didn't realise. And there was some lovely lady outside who wanted a picture. So I come running up to the hotel, dripping in sweat. And she goes, "Can I get a picture?" And I said, "Do you mind if I don't?" I mean, I'm like a drowned rat. It was raining and I looked awful. But I had a nice chat with her for a few minutes. Lovely coming to the show. Great. Then walked in and Tim was inside and had watched the whole conversation and he goes, "You didn't have a picture with her?" And I went, "Oh, no, look at the statement." And he goes, "Oh, I did." And he goes, "I felt really bad because I was all sweaty." He goes, "Then you just said no." And I'm like, "Yeah, but now you make me feel bad."
Yeah, I feel like, I just know as a rule, you know, it's like, because I think it takes a lot of people to come up to you. Do you know what I mean? I would never go up to someone that I was a fan of.
Because they'll be nervous.
I remember seeing Bowie in the airport in Australia and I was famous and obviously I've been a massive fan and I was like, am I allowed to talk to him? He's in first class. And I was like, I didn't, because I was so nervous that he might not be friendly. So I thought I better not, so I was like, sort of staring, but I didn't have the guts to go and say hello.
Did you meet him?
Yeah, later on.
Right.
But that time we were both in Australia touring, and it's really funny because, I was sat outside his house. I was a massive fan. So it's like, I'm also now a musician. I'm allowed to talk to him. It was kind of weird. But when I did finally meet him, he was absolutely lovely.
The amount of people we were talking about, the amount of people that you have worked with, sung with, is incredible. But the amount of people that you've just met, and I've always said that with you, George, and I always quote the same story. You were around at ours one day, we're sat in the garden, and I said, we're having a cup of tea, and I said, I don't know the story about you getting signed. How did you get signed? And you told me that everything, it was like a South Bank show documentary, and you said, well, I used to do this and I used to do that, and then I met these people, and then I met those people, and then you got right, it was the whole backstory. And I'm like, your memory is phenomenal, because with some of your older habits, you shouldn't have a good memory.
I absolutely remember what I want to, though.
Right.
Sometimes people would start telling me a story and I'd be like, do you remember this story?
Yeah.
And especially if it's an awful story, I'm like, I don't remember that, But Marilyn, my friend Marilyn, always tells these stories, and he's always the one wearing the cape.
Right.
Always the hero, and I'm like, I don't remember you being the hero in that story. So there are times when I literally don't remember what someone's telling me, but then I remember ridiculous things from when I was a kid or,
How much of the A-Team do you remember?
I remember George Peppard apologising for the behaviour of everyone else in the cars.
Oh, really?
And I was like apologising for Culture Club because we were rowing and they were rowing. There was this photo call and me and George Peppard were the first ones there.
Right.
And he was like, I'm so sorry, because none of them got on. And it was exactly what was happening with us. We were all fighting with each other as well.
It still makes me smile that you're in the A-Team.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Well, the band wanted to be in Miami Vice. That was
right.
the dream, because everyone, I think Duran were in Miami Vice. There was a few other bands.
Such a big show back
so
then.
Roy and Mikey wanted to be in Miami Vice, but unfortunately they got the A-Team.
Oh, I mean, I think you won. I think the A-Team's far
awesome.
superior. Yeah. George is with us, Mr. Boyd. George, we're on, love. We're on. We're live. Don't swear. We're live.
I'm just saying how my lookalike is a bit more blokey.
Yeah, we're just talking about Boy George's lookalike.
Yeah, we were just talking about tribute bands off the air, and James just said to Boy George, have you ever met any of the tribute acts that pretend to be you? And he goes, yeah, I'm friends with one of them, who is Keith George of the Boy George Experience.
Yeah.
I think he's actually putting a band together now as well. He wants to go legit.
Oh, really?
He's been doing tracks. And he said to me a few weeks ago, I'm putting a band together. I said, John's available.
Does he need someone who looks like Roy or someone who looks like Mikey? Right, so lots of things to talk about before George gets out of here. So let's just fly through a couple of things. First of all, would you like to go and see Boy George and Culture Club? That's right, they are still performing together. They haven't killed each other yet.
Are you asking me?
Uptown Festival, Sunday the 27th of July, Blackheath in London.
Nice.
Does Blackheath hold a special place in your heart?
Well, Blackheath, I grew up in SC9 originally and then SC18. Blackheath's kind of like the posh bit of where I lived.
Right.
Right.
So when we were kids, we were like, I'd love to live in Blackheath, but it's, like posh.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like somewhere that I've, spent a lot of time as a kid. My art teacher lived in Blackheath, Mr. Riddock.
Oh, Mr. Riddock. This is Sunday, 27th of July, Blackheath in London, and it's Boy George and Culture Club all together.
And possibly Chris Moyles, I don't know.
I'm available.
That'll be good.
I'm available. Yeah, I could do it. I'm DJ. Put me on the bill. And all of the songs, all of your Culture Club big songs.
Yeah, we do everything. Everything and more. It's. We're lucky because we've got quite a few to choose from.
You've got a few.
You've got one or two, haven't you? Yeah.
Our fans, like the hardcore fans, kind of want to hear more different things as well. They don't just want to hear the same things over and over. So we mix it up. We always do the obvious ones. Karma, Do Really, Church.
Yeah.
I love Church.
Such a great song.
Yeah, but
do you have a favourite yourself of the back catalogue, or does it just change from...
We just did a tour before Christmas where we did the first 2 albums, and that was really interesting because those songs from the first album we'd never played, so that was fun to do that. But I also found it a little bit restrictive. I don't like to go on stage and know exactly what I'm doing.
Sure.
I like to be able to kind of change things mid-show. You know, and I've been lucky because I've got musicians that, you know, we've got additional musicians that can kind of just jam things and try things.
Yeah, nice.
Do they let you do Boy George songs when you're with Boy George and Culture Club? Like if you go, right, this is Bow Down Mister, do they go, I don't bloody think so? But we're not on that one.
I tend to not do, sometimes we do, but I tend to do covers rather than my own stuff because, you know, I want to do it in the way I want to do it. So it's better to just, you know, decide together what you're going to do. So it would be more of a cover than something of mine.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, go and get tickets if you can be in London, Sunday 27th of July, Blackheath in London for the Uptown Festival featuring Mr. Boy George and Culture Club, who I've seen many
Bring
times.
a picnic, wear a nice hat.
Lovely.
It's always a fun show. It's always a fun show. And you can always watch George look right into his eyes and just see if he's in one of those little mischievous naughty moods when he's on stage, because you always know where if he laughs and George has got which is he's in a naughty mood laugh.
I feel like that's come about as I've got older. I don't think I used to laugh like that in my 20s, but it's just happened.
Yeah, I can always tell when you're having a good time on stage when you get a little bit giddy.
Always have a good time on stage.
I know, but you know what I mean? It's like when I go, he's really enjoying
I feel like
tonight.
Yeah, I like that thing of like going out and saying it's a difficult audience, because how can you say that about an entire audience? But it's like all the audience are difficult. Rubbish.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So once you get rid of that thought, you know, and I also don't mind a difficult crowd. When I was touring with Squeeze last year, we did a swap. So some nights we go on first, some nights they would. And it's not something that I've done a lot. And but I like the challenge because, you know, people are a bit like, not drunk yet. They're not quite in the mood. And one night we opened with Karma Chameleon, you've never seen people running into a stadium quicker.
Great.
Like, let's just turn it upside down.
It's good. I like it.
So, you know, I feel like those sort of opening gigs can be quite powerful.
Definitely.
Because you have to work hard to get people to stand up.
Yeah.
George is set to release on the 21st of this month his reggae album.
Vinyl only, it's not going to be streamed.
SE18.
Vinyl and CD, old school, taking it right back to the beginning.
Wow.
And it's really, I've actually forgotten how much I love records. Do you know what I mean? Like just physical.
Yeah, physical.
Hand it to me. Can I have a look?
I think my audience kind of just wants stuff they can have.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a vinyl
stories,
head. I do love it. Yeah.
Lyrics.
Yeah. Definitely.
Who played on what?
It does make a difference. You physically hold.
I was listening to, we've got a pile of records and a record player in the kitchen at home, of which there may be the odd Boy George album in there, the odd Culture Club album in there, and the last 2 albums that have been on there have been Elton John, which I think was Madman Across the Water, and the new Lottery Winners album.
Right. Yeah. And
I just love the fact that two different points of time on vinyl, but that noise of I know it sounds silly, but just taking a record out the sleeve. So this is all new tracks?
All new tracks. So there's 10 songs on the album and 13 on the CD.
I love that.
And more coming.
Oh, really?
Yeah, more coming. Actually, this is a new kind of way of getting vinyl now, because you haven't got to wait 6 months to get it. It's print to order, so it's really exciting. And I actually saw it on TikTok.
What? We talked about...
Yeah, and I was like, this is amazing. And blah, blah, blah. I put my record up and they took it down because they were like, you're not Boy George. So I had to write them a letter because Dean put the record up and they were like, who's this Dean?
Who's Dean then?
I should have called my label Dean Records.
So it's via a business called Elastic Stage, and we talked about it on the air because I found out, obviously with Tiff and you, and you can get your tracks made onto vinyl, which is amazing. Yeah. But then they also sell it so you can get your tracks made up. So if you want to get George's new album, SE18, go and have a look at Elastic Stage. which is, it sounds like I'm saying it wrong, but I'm saying
obviously,
it right.
record players are getting smaller now. They're doing these new style, like almost like handbags.
Absolutely, yeah.
So get a record player as well.
Oh, and it's got a proper, it's got proper sleeve notes.
Oh, it's a proper booklet, isn't it?
Everything.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
That's a wicked picture, by the way. I've not seen that before of you on stage. From behind, I
That's
like
nice.
During the pandemic, that was.
Oh,
Was it?
When we did this live stream, and there was nobody there.
Oh, I remember I watched that. It was a great show, but I just remember thinking this must be weird for you guys because was it at Wembley Arena or because you were meant to play and then couldn't do the gig, so you just did the live stream of it. That's weird.
That's really strange, yeah.
You also did, I think, around the same time. You did a similar gig. Well, you went and sung with Paul Weller.
I did, yeah.
Do you remember that?
I remember just the palaver during that period of masks and going here and going there. But it was great. I mean, obviously, I love Paul. He's brilliant.
I made a list last night of some of the people that George has sung with.
Oh, right.
And
quite a long list, I would think.
Now, I thought I knew a lot of these, but lots of them I didn't know. Luther Vandross, you sang with Luther.
I did.
You did What Becomes the Broken Heart.
We did at the Harlem Apollo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you remember who introduced you? Can you remember who introduced you to?
Yes, it was, what's his name?
It's not aged well.
Oh, okay.
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder.
Wow.
Do you get nervous when you do?
Oh my God, I was terrified.
Right.
Stevie Wonder.
Absolutely. So, almost wish I could do it now. Like all of those things that I did, everyone I sung with, I wish I could do it now rather than then, because then I was just so insecure, so self-doubting, and it was so overwhelming to be in a room with someone like Stevie Wonder. I'd kind of grown up, listening to all his music. I mean, I think he's probably one of the greatest songwriters ever. And, just being in a room with him and just thinking, oh my God.
But what I love about this list is it's so all over the place. So you go, all right, so Stevie Wonder, Luther Vandross, Paul Weller, Smokey Robinson from The Miracles, Tim Burgess from The Charlatans, and then Dolly Parton, Dionne Warwick. It's lit Gladys Knight. Like, I never knew you'd sung with Dolly Parton.
We did a track together called Your Kisses Are Charity, and she was amazing, because when I asked her to do it, I thought she was going to say no.
Yeah.
And what was amazing about her, all she wanted was a car to the studio and like a little bit of money, but it was nothing. It was like, really? I was expecting to get like a massive bill, but she just wanted a car. She was so nice. So easygoing, so not a diva.
Yeah, great. And a great voice.
Beautiful, yeah.
You met Frank Sinatra.
I did, and you know what? It's one of my biggest regrets, because I went to see him at the Albert Hall, and I was a massive fan. We grew up with Sinatra, so I was like a big fan, but for some reason at that point, I think I was so full of my own self-importance. Like, Frank Sinatra, and I just forgot to be present.
Right.
I forgot to be there. I didn't get a photo.
Oh, did you not?
Which I've always regretted,
Well, maybe it wasn't you. Maybe it wasn't you. Maybe you were just so overwhelmed by it.
It was me.
Do you think?
It was me. Oh, yeah, I know it was me. It's like, I look back, I'm like, my God, I was in a room with Frank Sinatra, and I was like, yeah, terrible.
Did you meet him?
Yeah.
But you just don't really remember much about it?
I guess I've never, like, if there's a photographer there, I'm always a bit embarrassed to kind of go up to someone and say, can I take a photo?
Yeah.
Because, like, it's like, what if they say no?
Wow,
you know what I mean? Also, you kind of feel like you're on the level once you start getting successful. You sort of get into the idea that you've got to act like a star. And a star doesn't ask someone for a photograph. Now I wouldn't care. Now if I like someone, I'll go up to them and say, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
I met Patti Smith in a restaurant in New York, and I thought, I've got to go and speak to her now. I ran up to her, and she was very sweet.
Yeah.
That's how, but you met Rod Stewart, though, similarly, didn't you? Didn't you meet Rod in LA?
I met Rod, like, in the 80s. Yeah. He came to our gig in LA, and I wouldn't let him in the dressing room because I was, like, so freaked out, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. And, but then I've met him a lot of times since then. I've toured with him. He's adorable.
Yeah.
Very quickly, he's doing the Legends slot at Glastonbury this year.
Rod is.
Yeah.
Yep.
When is George doing the Legends slot at Glastonbury?
Who knows?
Would you do it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've done Glastonbury a couple of times with Mark Ronson. I did like the Thursday night once, which was hilarious because I was like, what do I play? And we did Karma Chameleon. It was like punk. The crowd went insane. I was like, oh, they like it. So, you know, it's... I did my friend's wedding last week and I sang Karma Chameleon. He hates that song. I was like, everyone else is going to love it though. So it's not for you.
It's not about you.
I said, your mum's here. I'm doing it. And actually it went down brilliantly. But he was like, I hate that song. I goes, I know you do, but I couldn't get up on stage and not do it.
Yes.
I think you guys at Glastonbury, I think you in the legend slot would be absolutely perfect. I really do. I think it'd be brilliant. I'm going to make it happen.
I'm not in a hurry though.
No, well, you're not going anywhere. Lovely to see you. So go and see George at the Uptown Festival if you want at the end of July, Uptown Festival 2025. Go and get your tickets and then get George's new album, SE18, and get it on vinyl and CD at Elastic Stage. So go and check it out. Always a pleasure.
Love you. Thank you.
Nice to see you,
Lovely
George.
to see you.
Give me that back.
I'll buy mine. Don't worry. I've got it.
Now I've got to. This has got for a competition.
We thought that was a gift, George.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'll send you one.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Boy George.
Thank you.
Radio X.